This is Kimberly Hobby. She's my lovely wife.
And this is Mr. Didocio Hobby, who is my king, my lover, my shepherd, my friend.
Ashe. Kind of fell in love from the very beginning. I found someone who resonated within me and who I connected to on many different levels, and we just were inseparable, have been inseparable.
It's interesting how we met, because we met at a conference, mentoring conference. He's a mentor in California, and I was not a mentor. You were a mentor coordinator in California, and I'm an administrative assistant for a mentoring program here in Philadelphia. And we met at a conference
in Kansas City.
And interesting thing about that is because before I left Philadelphia, I am, a spiritual person. So I heard within myself to let go of relationships that I was involved in and make room for my king. And so in the air, on the way to Kansas City, I said, now what if I meet him out of state? And that's what happened.
You put it out there. Well, my experience was a little different. I had reached a point in my life where I was just tired of relationships that were unfulfilling, even unhealthy in some cases, and I said, you know what, that's it. So when I went to Kansas City, finding the love of my life was the least thing and the last thing on my mind. It was just, I gotta go to Kansas City. So I was quite stunned that our paths crossed. But then I remembered how I used to pray for someone who could just love me. And I realized then that it always happens in God's time and not my time. And so that's how it happened.
My name is Lennon Honor.
And my name is Aida Honor.
Yeah, and I have a website, LennonHonor.com, also LennonHonorFilms.com, documentary work there, music, books, etc. My wife, she has a whole lot of stuff too going on.
Yes, I do beaded jewelry, and also I write articles about home birth and unassisted birth. I'm a birth empowerment coach, and you do coaching as well, consultations.
Yeah, consultation sessions.
We also homeschool our 5 children, and that's something that we get a lot of questions about. Do you want to tell the story?
Oh, here we go.
Or shall I tell the story? Actually, I was dealing with a lot of negativity in my life, and I was just starting to want to cleanse myself from a lot, dealing with different people who I didn't think I should have in my life anymore, and trying to build up my self-esteem. And I remember that I cut my locks off, which I had had for 21 years. I was 21 years old, so I had locks for 21 years, and I cut them off, and I met Lennon, I met you the very next day.
Yeah, and for me, I wasn't looking for a mate at the time. And a lot of people, they think we're supposed to be looking for, but it don't work that way. And I was doing the same thing. I was really working on myself, refining myself, and doing things to improve upon myself. And when I met my wife, I was not looking for her, and she was definitely not looking for me.
No.
And I was over at a friend of mine's house named Yohimbe. And I was working on music on this keyboard.
I love this story.
Yeah. And Yohimbe and his friend were all sitting on the bed. One of his female friends, they weren't intimate though, they were just like brothers and sisters almost. They were on the bed talking, and I was just into my own thing, working on music on the keyboard, and in walks these 2 young ladies. One was you and then your friend.
Yes. And we had been at the Ashby Flea Market in Oakland, and I had seen you before you saw me.
You saw me? I
seen you. I remember that you had this look to you that I thought you were married, and I wasn't going to approach you I was kind of up behind some trees with my friends, and I wasn't going to approach you because I said, he's got to be married. It's just the energy. I just had this feeling that you just, you know, were already married.
Yeah, I was already married to you.
Yep.
I was already married to mama.
After the flea market that day, my friend and I happened to walk to a friend's house, and it was there that I saw you again. And I was really surprised to walk into a room and see you there.
You was like, yeah,
I saw him earlier. What is he doing here? So
you was like, oh, well. She came in and was like, oh, look at you. I remember you on the flea market.
Nope, that's not what happened.
That's not what happened. I'm exaggerating. I mean, I didn't pay. I just saw two people walk
Yeah, he
in.
didn't pay me any
Yeah,
attention.
I just waved. I'm sure I said hi or something.
Yes,
because I
of
wouldn't have
course.
just not said anything.
You were very respectful.
Yeah, I just said hi, and then I went back to working on music, and that was my mentality back then. I wasn't looking for trying to be out on the prowl trying to find somebody.
That's right.
You were talking, and all of y'all was talking. The four of y'all was talking, and at some point you said,
I was talking about children, and I was working on a grant.
yes.
Where I wanted to do massage therapy for children to teach them about the human body and you know, different types of Montessori style topics. And I was working on that, and Yohimbe, he was a teacher. There were other people there who were interested in becoming teachers. And you took one of your headphones.
Yeah, because I was like,
Headphone
she's
ears
talking about.
off.
I was like, she's talking about children.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, let me see what she's
So
talking
you
about.
started listening to us.
Yeah, just a little bit. She basically had cut all her hair off the day before. And when she said that, I was like, what? You know, because anytime a woman cuts all her hair, anytime a woman does anything with their hair where they do something different,
Drastic.
it's like, oh, something's going on. Like, what's really going on here? And that's what really sparked my interest. I was like, okay, if she's going, and then you hadn't cut your hair for 21 years?
Right.
I was like, oh, wait a minute. Something's going on here, and I want to know what's going on. And most of the time when women do stuff like that, it's because they're working on themselves and they're trying to get to a new plateau. They started to ask you
To take off my scarf.
yeah, it was like, take your scarf off, your hair wrap off. He was like, no.
I was very uncomfortable. Brand new and fresh and vulnerable. And you turned around and you said something.
I said, well, I think bald heads are sexy. And then she started taking her hair wrap off. And then when you took it off, I looked at you and you looked at me, and we were like,
Locked.
yeah,
into
we were
each
like
other's
looking
stare.
at each other like, I don't know how long.
Yeah, I mean, everybody around us, they were saying, what's wrong with them?
Yeah.
Aida, Lennon, you
Yeah.
know, and we were just staring at each
We
other.
was in a whole other world.
It was really interesting.
Yeah, it really was. We lost track of time.
We did.
And then finally, when we came back around, everyone was like, what's wrong with y'all? And like, nothing.
Nothing's wrong.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this right here is Kayla Moses Baxter, also known as Miss Kayla, and the midget with the elephants.
This is my husband, Jawan Juan Baxter. Some people call him Juan, some people call him Jawan. He's also known as Juju, Craze, Brother Craze. But to me, he's my Juju. That's my husband.
Amen. This what happened, right? We was at Freedom Theater in this play. Am I lying?
No.
Okay, we was at the Freedom Theater in the play. She ain't know me, I ain't know her. She walked into the dressing room to speak to everybody. And when she smiled, I said, wow, that's my future wife.
So we were in the play together, and
What was the name of the play?
it was called Sparkle, and it was at Freedom Theater. And I didn't think anybody, I didn't think anybody was gonna like me anyway, because I was always dressed in all these crazy costumes. So I never even thought about dating anyone in this play. Every day the ladies would like talk about what they wanted in a man, and I had this long list, this really big list of what I wanted. And the guy had to definitely have, he had to have his own car, he had to have graduated college, I did want like a doctor or lawyer. I had this big list of all these things, and I would run down this list. And every time I would start running down the list, Jawan would leave the room.
I would walk out. Every day I would bring her, like, I would come from my job, go all the way downtown, pick her up a Cinnabon, just because I know she liked the Cinnabons, and bring them and bring them to the green room like I just had grandpa's Cinnabon, you know. So and I'm like, oh, she ain't catch on yet. Yeah. Then one day she like, can you walk me to the store?
But he would sit next to me all the time, but I didn't really know. And he would always share his Cinnabon with me. And I like food, like I like really good food. And I like Cinnabons. There were women in the play too, but the guys were so much fun. So the women would like eat salads for lunch, and like Jawan would have smothered chicken wings with gravy. And it would all be smothered. But it was so good. It was from the Chinese store around the corner. And I was like in really good shape when this play started. I was in really good shape. So this one time we were going to the store and I asked him to come with me. And no, you asked me, could you come with me to the store?
You said I'm going to the store. I said you want me to walk you.
Yeah, but I was going to the store to get some feminine products. And I didn't know if I wanted him to walk me to the store to get those. So I told him that's what I was doing, and he said it's okay. That he used to pick them up for his mama anyway. So he walked me to the store. And then he tried to hold my hand, which I thought was really weird because he was my friend. Why would he be trying to hold my hand?
And she was looking at me like,
yeah, it was kind of crazy.
They had a flyer up on the wall. It was like dinner and a movie.
Is what they said on the flyer.
That's what it said on the flyer. So she walked up at the same time I was reading the flyer, and I'm like, dinner and a movie? And I looked at her like...
And my initial thought was like, who's gonna drive? Because I had a car and he didn't. Which was really superficial. Now at the time I was going to a singles ministry at Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church, and I had prayed. I had dated this guy before who was kind of bad news, and I started watching the way that he treated the other people in the play, which I knew he was nice, but I didn't really pay much attention to that. And we used to have to get dressed backstage. And when he would come through, like all the rest of the guys would just walk through us. They didn't pay us any mind. Like the women were getting dressed, they would walk through us. But Joanne would always like turn his head and be really respectful and not look at the women. And that really mattered to me. Like, oh, he cares about, he's respectful. Where the other guys, they didn't care.
When did I know it was love? For me, I think it happened kind of imperceptibly, and ultimately it was a realization that struck me. I think I was aware of the love that existed in you when we met. I remember, because how it went down was, we met and we started talking. And I'm like, this is one really deep sister, and I'm liking that because that's real, and she seems like really genuine. And so I found myself drawn to not just you as a human being, but you as a spiritual being. And so for me, I realized after the fact that when we connected spiritually, we connected in a way in a place of love, from a place of love. So the love, I just had to be honest with myself and know that I'm in love with this woman. And that's how it went down.
I think, when people say they fall in love, it literally was a falling in love. It wasn't expected. It just happened. It like all the planets lined up and everything was just perfect. It was right. I guess the first time we probably knew we were really in love when we started sleeping on the phone together, him in California and me here in Philadelphia, and we talk until we go to sleep.
Yeah.
It was frustrating for me because I wanted to keep talking, but him being in California, about 3 hours behind, and me here in Philadelphia, was like, okay, I gotta get some rest. But the love just happened. It was like a slap in the face.
I think it was more about we were both willing to love, and that's what opened us up for the love, to receive the love from the other person. Because I believe we all have the capacity to love. We just choose not to. And I feel like you and I had come to points in our lives where we said we want to love. We want to give and receive love, and we're ready for it. And that's what happened.
And I remember I did research on you. I asked friends that knew her, like Yohimbe. I kept asking him questions, and she was asking questions about me, and it was never a direct kind of thing at first. And the more and more information I got about her, I was like, oh, I really think I should get to know her.
And so we found out through a mutual friend, through Yohimbe, who was in the band with you, that you were going to be you all were going to be performing at Eli's, the jazz club, or poetry night. And so my friends decided to go and see you all perform. And I remember you doing some of my favorite songs, some Coltrane songs. You played the saxophone, and I just kept thinking, this is a really good energy, that you were playing real instruments, and it wasn't just like, going to a hip-hop concert or something like that. It was a real band, and I felt really good about that. And so I just remember you gave me your phone number. I still have the card that you gave me the number on. And from there, it just seemed like there was no one else. That was it. We knew. I mean, there were times when we had to be apart because we didn't live together at the time. We were young, and we were both working and traveling a little bit, and there were times that we had to deal with that. But eventually we decided to move together to San Diego. And after that, we moved to Atlanta and lived there for 2 years. And from there, we were expecting little Lennon. So I was pregnant with him. And from there, we moved back to California, back to San Diego to be around family, your side of the family. And that's that.
And now
8 years.
Yeah, now 5 babies later, here we are.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's how things worked out for us. So it's been about 11 years now, and it's been a wonderful journey. Yeah, and we've grown a lot together, so that's another big thing. You got to grow together.
Well, I knew I loved her from the first moment I saw her. Like, I knew that she was going to be the one that I spent the rest of my life with. It took me a while. I said I had to break down the wall to make her feel the way that I felt about her, so I had to be a friend first, which made it easier for her to fall in love with me. I figured, like, if I was a friend, then it wouldn't be too much to hide or too much to for her not to know that she cared about me. But I loved you since day one. Look.
Did you see? I don't mean to laugh, but I wonder, like, it made me feel a little teary-eyed.
Okay, go on.
To hear that, but I just,
go on, cry.
It came out through laughter. I think I knew that I could love him when that day that I laid next to him. I remember the moment when I realized how much I needed him, and that was when we had our first child. So when we had my daughter Mila, and I had to get an epidural. My second child, Jayla, we had a natural childbirth, really, because it wasn't enough time. She came so quickly that I didn't really have a choice. But when I had to get the epidural, I was really scared because, I heard that people could be paralyzed and had heard all of that. And but I was in a lot of pain. So they put the needle in my back, and Jawan prayed with me and held me, and he prayed with me, and him doing that, like I was so frightened that through prayer with him, and I just knew that I needed him to help guide me and pray with me through that moment. And that was a deeper part of loving someone, where I felt like I needed him. Yeah, that was it was a big step for me to feel like I needed someone else, because I learned that you should not, and I don't think I was supposed to learn this, or maybe that was the intention, so me to feel like I needed my husband, or was a big turning point in my life, even though I had already married him and loved him and stuff.